Hey friends, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be filming one of my most anticipated videos to make every single year, and that is going to be my most anticipated books of 2025. There are so many books that are publishing this year that I am really looking forward to. I have about 20 thriller or horror books on this list. I have about 15 romance books, and then I do have a number of about 10 books that don't really fit into any of those genres that I'm really excited to read. But before we do jump into the video, I just wanted to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is Think about the number of spam calls and texts that you receive each day. I know I've definitely found myself second guessing, like, is this a real text message or is this spam? Or maybe if you're waiting for an important phone call and you have to answer on the unknown numbers just in case, and you don't know if that call is gonna be spam or not. I am really not a big fan of the spam text messages all the time, and that's why I've started using Aura. And Aura is great because they will help to remove your personal information from data brokers and people search sites that can sell your information to scammers and identity thieves. Aura is always monitoring your personal data, including your social security number, across billions of data points like the dark web and public court records to alert you about potential identity theft. They also do offer financial fraud protection so that you can get alerted within minutes if your credit file has been compromised, like if someone tries to open a credit card or get a loan in your name. They also do offer VPN, which protects your internet connection with military-grade encryption. They also offer so many things like antivirus, password management, and 24/7 US-based support. So I get this all in one app at an affordable price. So I know that I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, then you can go to my link, aura.com/gabbyreads, and get 2 weeks for free on me. And that will be enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data is exposed. Thank you so much to Aura for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get into the books. So as mentioned, there are some books that don't fit into the categories of either thriller, horror, or romance books, so I figured we would start with those. So one of the first books that I wanted to talk about is definitely one of my most anticipated books for this entire year because it's Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book is coming out in June, and this is a historical fiction, romance, contemporary. You know, I'm not usually the biggest fan of historical fiction, but this is Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is like one of my top favorite authors. I will read anything that she comes out with. And this one sounds especially interesting because it says it's an epic new novel set against the backdrop of the 1980s space shuttle program. This one just sounds especially right up my alley with something that I would love because it says they're seeking the first women scientists to join NASA's space shuttle program. And the fact that it takes place in the 80s, like, this sounds like it's gonna be right up my alley. I genuinely cannot wait for this. I think it's gonna be one of my top favorites of the year. I can already feel it. Another book that I'm really looking forward to is this one called Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This one is coming out in June, and even though I don't typically read a lot of books that would be considered fantasy, you know, V.E. Schwab is the author of Vicious and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which are two of my favorite books of all time. This one looks like it's gonna be amazing, and it's actually tagged with vampires. I'm so intrigued because, you know, as you might have heard, I'm in my vampire era right now. There's also this one that is called Sky Daddy by Kate Folk, and this is definitely one of my most anticipated books of the year because what the heck is this? This book is actually from the same author as that book called Out There, which was a sci-fi book that I read a few years ago now that I ended up really enjoying. This one sounds so interesting. Oh my gosh, when I tell you what this book is about, you're gonna be like, wait, what? This story is basically like a fiction, literary fiction story about this woman who like romantically falls in love with an airplane. I'm pretty sure that's what the premise of this book is. And like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? That's why it's called Sky Daddy. Like, is that not the funniest thing that you've ever heard? I genuinely can't wait though. I think this book is gonna be so entertaining. It comes out in April. I can't wait to read it. I'll be first in line to read this. Ooh, okay, and then we have this one called The In-Between Bookstore. This one is actually coming out very soon. It's coming out in early January. It says that this is an enchanting novel about a magical bookstore that transports a trans man through time and brings him face to face with his teenage self. Does that not sound so interesting? Like, I love that it seems like there's a lot of books coming out recently that are like time travel-y bookstore kind of books. Like, it's giving me Midnight Library vibes. Then there's this one that's also coming out in January. It's called We Could Be Rats by Emily R. Austin. This one is from the same author as Interesting Facts About Space, which is a book that I read last year that I really enjoyed. And this one is another, you know, queer contemporary fiction book. It says a moving story about two very different sisters and a love letter to childhood, growing up, and the power of imagination. So you know that I'll be reading this because I love stories that are about sisters. I really like this author's writing as well. Like, I feel like I really connected to the characters in the last book that I read from her, so I'm really looking forward to this. I also love the cover. It's so pink. Ooh, and then there's this book called Deep Cuts. This one is coming out in late February. This one also is listed under fiction, historical fiction, but this one I do think is one that could be, you know, right up my alley. I think I've been seeing people compare this one to Daisy Jones and the Six. This one says, moving from Brooklyn bars to San Francisco dance floors, Deep Cuts examines the nature of talent, obsession, belonging, and above all, our need to be heard. It mostly sounds like it takes place in the early 2000s, and it involves like characters who are obsessed with music and like songwriting and stuff like that, so that's why this one is on my radar. And then we have this one called The Baby Dragon Cafe. This one's actually coming out in January, and this one, oh my god, it just looks so cute. Like, is this not the cutest fucking cover that you've ever seen in your life? This one is a fantasy romance that involves dragons. It says this is perfect for fans of Pumpkin Spice Cafe and Legends and Lattes. It says she opened up her cafe for baby dragons and their humans. As it turns out, young dragons are not the best magical animals to keep in a cafe. And then we also follow this guy Aiden, who's a local gardener. He walks into her cafe, he has a genius idea. He'll ask Saphira to train his baby dragon and he'll pay her enough to keep the cafe afloat. How cute is this? Oh my god, she's gonna train his little baby dragon. And then I'm really excited because Ocean Vuong is gonna be publishing a new book in May. This one is called The Emperor of Gladness. This one, the genres say that it's fiction, contemporary, literary fiction, queer. It just says Ocean Vuong returns with a big-hearted novel about chosen family, unexpected friendship, and the stories we tell ourselves in order to survive. I don't need to know anything more. I'm definitely going to be checking out this one because of how much I loved this one. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I was a huge fan of this book. It ended up in my top 5 of the year, I think, when I read it. So I will be reading anything that Ocean Vuong comes out with, and I can't wait. And then this one, which I literally found out about this book like today. I added this to my TBR today. I didn't know that this was coming out. It's called Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata, who is the same author as Earthlings and Convenience Store Woman. This book is coming out in April, apparently. There's not even a final cover for this yet, I don't think. But this author has quickly become a new favorite of mine, so I'm definitely going to be reading this. I feel like this author has such great ideas and just such great writing. And it says this story is a highly imaginative story set in a version of Japan where sex between married couples has vanished and all children are born by artificial insemination. Like, dude, what the heck? After reading Earthlings, like, I will literally read anything that this author comes out with, so I cannot wait to check out this book. And then one book that I wasn't sure if this was like romance or if this was just like literary fiction, but I guess it does say that it's romance, is this one called Main Characters by Hannah Orenstein. This one, it says that it's the Parent Trap for adults, which I love that so much. Like, this sounds so fun and so cozy. It says the story of two half-sisters who meet for the first time at their father's cabin in Maine after his unexpected death. I love that it's about sisters. I like love literary fiction, kind of like romance books like this. It says they were raised in New York City, which is another thing that intrigues me. And honestly, like, this cover, like, did I add this book to my TBR just because the cover is beautiful? Maybe. You never know. All right, I figured we would do the romance books next because there's not as many romance books as there are thriller and horror books, so I figured I would save those for the end. It is my most anticipated romance of next year because it's the new Emily Henry, okay? It's Great Big Beautiful Life. This one is coming out in April, and you know, like, it's Emily Henry, so I'm just very excited for this because I am a huge Emily Henry fan. She's definitely one of my favorite romance authors writing today, so I'm really looking forward to this. And in this story, I'm especially looking forward to it because it says that we're following two writers who are competing for the chance to tell the larger-than-life story of a woman with more than a couple of plot twists up her sleeve. I love, okay, when Emily Henry writes about writers, that's like one of my favorite things, so I cannot wait to read this one. And then we have this book called The Favorites by Lane Fargo. This is a book that is coming out very soon, actually, in the month of January, and it is a book of the month selection for the month of January, so you can get your hands on this from them. But this is one that I am so genuinely excited about, like one of my most anticipated books for sure, because this is from the same author as They Never Learn. At least as far as I know, I think this author has only come out with thrillers in the past, and this book is supposed to be a romance. It's an epic love story, and we're following people who are like elite figure skaters. They are destined to become Olympic skaters. Like, does this not sound like the most interesting thing ever? I always talk about how I want to read more books that involve like ice skating and like figure skaters specifically. So like, it's almost like Lane Fargo just like wrote this book just for me, don't you think? And then we have Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This one's coming out April 1st. And this is one that I'm so excited about because, you know, Abby Jimenez wrote my favorite romance of 2024 with Just for the Summer. It was my #1 favorite. I loved it so much. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It says that this one is going to be a new playful yet deeply emotional contemporary romance, which is exactly how how I would describe Just for the Summer. Main guy's name is Xavier Rush. That is a really interesting name. So it says, after one incredible and seemingly endless date, possibly the best in living history, Samantha is forced to admit the truth that her family is in crisis and any kind of relationship would be impossible. Sounds like it's going to be interesting. I don't even care what it's about. I'll read anything that Abby Jimenez writes. And then we have Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. And this is a romance from Ali Hazelwood that sounds like it's going to be kind of different than anything else she's put out before because it's a sports romance. It says a competitive diver and an ace swimmer jump into forbidden waters in this steamy college romance. I am nervous to read a sports romance that's kind of like steamy from Ali Hazelwood because I feel like this one's either going to be very hit or miss for me. You know, because I thought Bride was just okay. And then when she put out a steamy romance called Not in Love, I think that was last year, I ended up DNFing that one. Like, I just was not a really big fan of like her steamy writing. So I am a little bit nervous for this one, but I do want to read more like sports romance. Like, that's something I'm definitely more interested in. So I am curious to see if this one is going to end up being my thing or not. And then we have this one called Swept Away by Beth O'Leary. This one is coming out in April, and like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I really added this to my TBR because of that cover. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That might be my favorite cover that I've seen for a 2025 book so far. Like, that is stunning. Beautiful. Like, the freaking sunset and the freaking clouds. Like, oh my god, that 100% appeals to me. I would literally buy this book just to have that beautiful cover on my bookshelves, and I don't care how shallow that sounds. That cover is stunning. Okay, anyways, what is this book about? It says two strangers find themselves stranded at sea together. So that does sound kind of interesting. It says, what if you were lost at sea with your one night stand? So it says Zeke and Lexi thought it would be just one fun night. And I guess they go out on this boat together, and then the boat accidentally goes out into the water and they're like, oh fuck. And they don't have anything to like bring them back to the shore. So then it's about how they have to like spend a lot of time on this boat together. I don't know. Will this be my thing? I don't know. I haven't had the best history with this author, I'm not gonna lie. She seems to be very hit or miss for me, but I will absolutely be checking this book out just because of that cover. I just love it. Oh my gosh, and then we have this one, Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt. So this author wrote Savor It last year, which was like one of my top favorite books that I read the entire year. Like, it was one of my favorite romance books. And then I still haven't read The Co-op by this author, which actually came out, I think, at the very end of last year. But I'm really looking forward to The Co-op as well. But then this one, Left of Forever, is coming out in May. This is one that I'm so excited about. Like, the only reason I'm a little bit nervous is because it says an emotional, spicy second chance romance. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of second chance romance books, I'm not gonna lie. It's like my least favorite romance trope. But for this author, I will try it. I will give it a try. I like that it says it takes place in the coastal town of Spoons, Oregon. That is so cute. It says she runs a bakery in town while he works as a firefighter. Okay, next is this one that I just recently heard of and I thought it sounds so fun. It's called He's to Die For by Aaron Dunn and it's coming out June 3rd. This one is being described as a romance and it also says queer mystery, LGBT, like what? It says Brooklyn Nine-Nine meets The Charm Offensive, which are two things that I really enjoy. It says that this story is about a detective who finds himself falling for the lead suspect in a career-making case. Like, what the heck? I don't usually enjoy books that follow detectives, as you might know, but like in a romance book, and he's falling for the guy that's like the lead suspect in a case. I think that's fucking hilarious. I definitely want to read this. Like, that sounds so fun. And then we have this one called Cover Story by Celia Lasky. And this one's coming out March 25th. This is one that I mainly added to my TBR just because I'm a big fan of Celia Lasky. Both of the books that I've read from Celia Lasky so far have been 5-star books. Okay, I've read Under the Rainbow, which I gave 5 stars, and I also read So Happy For You, which I gave 5 stars, but neither of those books are romance books. One of these is like more of a thriller, and then this one I'd consider more like literary fiction. So I'm so excited to read a romance from Celia Lasky. I feel like this is an author that not a lot of other people really like her stuff from what I've noticed, but I tend to really like her writing. I don't know, there's something about her writing that really works for me. This one says a hilarious emotional love story about an extremely anxious publicist who's tasked with keeping an extremely gay starlet in the closet, but who ends up falling for her instead. Oh my god, amazing, amazing. Round of applause. That sounds like it's gonna be so good. And then we have this one that sounds so cute. It's called First Time Caller by BK Borison. It's coming out February 11th. I love this cover. I think it's so cute. It's kind of nostalgic. This one says it's the first book in a new series, I guess, called Heartstrings. And it says a hopeless romantic meets a jaded radio host in this cozy, Sleepless in Seattle inspired love story. Oh my god, amazing. Sold. I'm sold. Everything about that intrigues me. Let me see if this author name sounds so familiar. I'm like, have I read anything from... Oh, okay. So BK Borison wrote Love Light Farms and like that whole series. I DNF'd Love Light Farms, and I don't think I've read anything else from this author, but I know that this is a pretty loved romance author, so that is very interesting. I don't know, dude. I'm really excited for this one. I think it sounds so cute. And then next up, I have this one called Promise Me Sunshine. And this is from the same author as Ready or Not, which is a romance book that was pretty popular this year, but I didn't really have any interest in reading that one because of the whole like pregnancy thing. Like it just was not going to be my thing, I think. But this one comes out in March. It sounds interesting. It says, grieving the loss of her best friend, a young woman's life is turned upside down when she meets a grumpy stranger who swears he can help her live again. And it's a slow burn romance. Like, okay, I'm here, sign me up. It's over 400 pages, so I'm hoping that the slow burn is gonna be worth it. Oh my gosh, I just realized when I was looking through the books that it recommended for fans of that there's this one called Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. This one's also coming out in early January. It's probably already out by the time this video goes up. And it says 2 feuding second grade teachers and neighbors find themselves teaming up in this rivals to lovers romance. That sounds fun. I don't think I've read anything from Sarah Adams yet, but I love the idea of following 2 second grade teachers. That's so cute. Okay, and then we have this one called Love and Focus by Lila Lee. This one's coming out in May. This is one that I'm really excited about because the characters sound really interesting. It says we have a bisexual woman who's had 0 luck with both men and women, and she's a relationship advice columnist, but then she ends up meeting this woman named Celeste, who's a world-renowned photographer. I don't know, it sounds like it could be interesting. It also says that this is a second chance sapphic rom-com that will appeal to fans of the bold type, and Delilah Green doesn't care. I don't know what the bold type is, but I did enjoy Delilah Green Doesn't Care, so that's interesting. It also looks like this author has only previously written young adult books, or even like middle grade books, so it'll be interesting to see her take on an adult romance. I think this is so cute, by the way. Oh my god, this cover is adorable. You know I had to point it out. Oh my god, and then we have this one also coming out in May called Dream On, Ramona Riley, and this is by Ashley Herring Blake. Oh my god, I'm so excited. This cover looks so beautiful. I'm a big fan of this author. I've read her romance books before. It says a small town waitress and a Hollywood star's worlds collide. That's so fun. You know, like I love the idea of following a romance book where one of them is like a small town waitress and then the other one is like a Hollywood star. I'm here for that. And then we have this one called Change of Heart by Fallon Ballard. This one's gonna be coming out February 11th. This is one that I only added because I'm such a big fan of Fallon Ballard's book Lease on Love. And ever since reading Lease on Love, I've only read one more book from this author, even though she's come out with a few. So it says that we're following this character who is kind of a workaholic. She wakes up in Heart Springs, her own personal hell. The good news is she's not dead. She's been magically transported to a small town straight out of the Hallmark Channel. And so I'm kind of confused. I'm like, okay, does this place like actually exist? I mean, the genre does say magical realism on this, so I guess there's a chance that this book has some magic in it. And then the last romance I wanted to mention is this one called Jilted by Vi Keeland. This one's coming out in May. And this one sounds like it's gonna be so cute because it says a swooning romance where 27 Dresses meets The Hating Game. And like, I freaking love 27 Dresses and The Hating Game. And this one involves weddings, which I also think is very fun. All right, and now getting to all of the thriller and horror books that I am highly anticipating. All right, so first book on the list is gonna be Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. I am so freaking excited for this book. It is publishing in the month of January. It is also a Book of the Month selection from the month of December, so you can get this book early from Book of the Month if you would like to. And I'm so excited about this. As you might have heard in the last video that I just posted, this is going to be our Book Troop book club pick for the month of February. So how exciting is that? This book is one that sounds so amazing because we're following an author, which, you know, I love books that follow writers and I love books that take place on little islands. This one, we're following this guy named Grady, who's a writer, and it says that his wife like disappears and he doesn't know what happened to her. And then it says it takes place a year later. It says he travels to a tiny Scottish island and he meets a woman who looks exactly like his missing wife. That sounds crazy and twisted and I cannot wait to read it because I love Alice Feeney so much. Okay, the next one I wanted to mention is this one called When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. This one's publishing April 22nd. This one is a horror book. I am so excited for this. It says we're following this woman named Jess, a struggling actress who finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a violent, bloody encounter with the boy's father, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. Oh my gosh, I just noticed too that on Goodreads, the genre is also listed with Halloween right here. Like, oh my god, how fun! I don't know what this book is actually gonna be about. Like, I have genuinely no idea. I feel like that premise didn't really give me anything, but I don't even care. I am so excited for this. And then we have this one called Listen to Your Sister by Nina Veal. This one's coming out in the month of February, and this is a horror book that I'm highly anticipating. And if you missed the announcement in my last video, this book is actually going to be the March book troop pick. So if you want to read it along with us in the month of March, I would love to have you join us. This one really caught my eye right away because it says that this is for fans of Jordan Peele's films, Stranger Things, and The Other Black Girl, which are all things that I really enjoy. I also love that this says it's a big-hearted, speculative horror novel. I love when they throw in the word speculative because I'm like, okay, what the heck is that? And it sounds like it's about this girl who has like these nightmares about her brothers dying. And then it says their sister always warned them about her nightmares. They really should have listened. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? Like, what is going on in this book? I don't even know. And then we have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This one's coming out in the month of January, so very soon here. And this is a new horror fantasy book from Grady Hendrix, so you can guarantee I'm gonna be reading this one. Wow, this one's almost 500 pages. That's crazy. It says it takes place in the summer of 1970. I don't even need to read the description of this one because I will be reading it. I am so excited to read the new Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix has quickly become a new favorite author of mine, and I will read anything that he comes out with. And then we have The Last Session by Julia Barnes. This one is coming out April 1st, and this is a new thriller from the author of The Writing Retreat. And The Writing Retreat is like one of my favorite thrillers of all time. It says that this is a white-knuckled, locked-room thriller about a social worker who, after coming face-to-face with her dark past, must infiltrate a mysterious wellness center in the deserts of New Mexico. This one sounds like it's going to be so interesting. I think that this one involves like some kind of cult or something like that, so I am a little bit nervous because I don't usually love thrillers that revolve around like cults. But because this author wrote The Writing Retreat, I will be reading this. I will be dropping everything to read this. And then we have this one called With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. We do have a new Riley Sager coming out in the year of 2025. This one says it's expected to come out July 3rd. A little bit nervous to read, I'm not gonna lie, because it sounds like it's gonna be kind of historical, you know? It's taking place in 1942. It says one train, no stops, a deadly game of survival and revenge. So like the fact that this one takes place on a train in the year of 1942, it kind of sounds almost like Agatha Christie vibes or something like that. Like, I really don't know what to expect. I don't know if this is going to be the Riley Sager book for me. And then there's this one called Wild Dark Shore that is from the same author as Once There Were Wolves, which was one of my top favorite books of last year. I'm so excited for this. I think this one is going to be more of like a literary thriller, kind of like her other books. This one's coming out in March. It says, a family on a remote island, a mysterious woman washed ashore, and a rising storm on the horizon. Oh my god, this one sounds like it's gonna be so amazing and so hard-hitting, just like her other books. And then, oh my gosh, I just realized this the other day that Lisa Jewell has a new book coming out this year. I didn't know. This one is coming out June 24th. It's called Don't Let Him In. And Lisa Jewell is another one of my like favorite thriller authors, and I will read anything that she comes out with. It doesn't even matter. It says, we follow 3 women who are connected by one man in this kaleidoscopic thriller. Ooh, kaleidoscopic, what a fun word. And then we have A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. This one's coming out in February. And this one's definitely one of my most anticipated books because of how much I loved What Lies in the Woods by this author. It says that we're following a woman invited to her wealthy fiance's family retreat, realizes that they are hiding a terrible secret and that she's been there before. Okay, see, that's so intriguing to me. Like, I do love a book like this where it's like a wealthy family that's like hiding secrets. I think that's very fun. But then also like, what do you mean she's been there before? And then we have this one called You Are Fatally Invited. This one's coming out in February. I do have a physical arc of this one as well, so hopefully I can get to this one sooner rather than later. But this one says that we follow a thriller writer's retreat hosted on a private island that turns lethal when one of the authors is found murdered in this twisty locked room mystery. I love books that follow writers and take place on islands. And then also like a writer's retreat. That sounds so fun. And then we have this one called The Bachelorette Party by Camille Sten. This one's coming out June 10th, and look at that. That's what got me right there. Scream meets The Guest List. I'm sorry, what? Those are 2 of my absolute favorite things ever. Like Scream meets The Guest List. Oh my god, hooked right there. Like that's all I need to hear. I'm intrigued. It says that this is a compulsive page-turner thriller of friendship and murder. I also love, you know, I just mentioned, I love books that take place on islands. Look at that, boom, an island off the coast of Sweden. We're following 4 friends. This book also involves a wedding, obviously, because like it's the bachelorette party, which I love thrillers that involve weddings. And then we have this one called But Not Too Bold. This one is a horror fantasy novella. It's only 112 pages and it comes out in late February. See, this one also hooked me right with that first opening line because it says The Shape of Water meets Mexican Gothic in this sapphic monster romance novella. Like, I'm sorry, what? The Shape of Water? The Shape of Water? Like, I loved The Shape of Water. I've been looking for things that are similar to The Shape of Water ever since seeing that film. And then we have This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. This book is coming out in March, and this is a new thriller that I am very curious about. Ashley Winstead has become a very like hit or miss author for me, but I loved In My Dreams I Hold a Knife so much that I definitely want to be reading anything that this author comes out with. I've heard that this book is inspired by like a real life true crime case. I don't know how true that is. It says the shocking deaths of 3 college girls in Idaho takes the world by storm. And it says it's told 1 year after the astounding events that concluded the case and left the world reeling. So I don't know what to expect with this one, but I've heard from a few people that this book might have been inspired by a real life true crime case. And then there's this one called Eat the Ones You Love. This one is coming out April 22nd, and this one is a horror fantasy queer book that sounds so interesting. The premise of this one just sounds like it's gonna be so weird. Like it's saying an orchid growing out of sight in the heart of the mall is watching them closely. His name is Baby, and the beautiful florist belongs to him. He's young, he's hungry, and he'll do just about anything to make sure he can keep growing big and strong. Nothing he eats, nobody he eats, can satisfy him except the thing he most desires. I don't know why the premise of this one is almost giving me like Monstrilio vibes or something. Like, what are you talking about? I love how it says this is a story about possession and monstrosity and working retail. It's about hunger and desire and other terrible things that grow. Like, I am so intrigued. And then we have Our Last Resort, and this is the same author as The Quiet Tenant, which is a book that I really enjoyed. This one's coming out July 8th. And this one says a reunion between estranged siblings is interrupted when a woman is found murdered at their luxury vacation resort, dredging up memories from a shared childhood they've tried to keep buried in the past. So this sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I do love thrillers that like follow siblings on a vacation or something like that. I think that that's really fun. A luxury vacation resort. It sounds like it's gonna be like The White Lotus or something. Like, I'm excited. And then we have The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. Oh my god. I'm such a huge fan of Chuck Wendig. Like, he's quickly become one of my favorite horror authors. And this new book is coming out April 29th. It also looks like this one's only 400 pages, which is a little bit on the shorter side for Chuck Wendig's books. But this one says, a group of friends investigates the mystery of a strange staircase in the woods. I don't even know what this is about. I have no idea, but I don't care. I will read it. And then I have this one called At the Bottom of the Garden by Camila Bruce. This one is a horror book coming out January 28th, so pretty soon here. Becomes the guardian of 2 very unusual girls in this mesmerizing gothic novel. That sounds so interesting. I really love this cover. Like, there's something about the colors of this that really work for me. It sounds like it's gonna be so interesting because it says, Violet can see the dead man at the bottom of the garden. She can see all of Claire's ghosts and call them back into existence. It says she's plagued by her victims and at war with the gifted girls in her care. I don't know, it sounds like it's gonna be interesting and kind of weird. I'm here for it. And then the last book that I put on this list is this one called Nowhere Burning by Catriona Ward. This one doesn't come out until October 7th, and it's a new horror book from this author. It's set in the unforgiving maw of the Rocky Mountains, which sounds kind of interesting. And it also says perfect for fans of Riley Sager and the hit series Yellow Jackets. So like, I'm definitely intrigued, like just premise wise, hearing what it's about. Like, I'm intrigued even though there's no final cover for it. All right, so those are all of my most anticipated books coming out in the year of 2025. There are so many exciting things coming out next year. It was actually kind of hard to figure out what my most anticipated books are. If you want to check out any of these books, I will leave a link in the description. That will be my Goodreads most anticipated shelf. That should have most of these books on that shelf. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to all of these books next year. You'll have to let me know, what are your most anticipated books of 2025? Are there any books that you're looking forward to that I didn't mention on this list? Because I'm sure there are so many books coming out next year that I'm not even aware of. So please do let me know. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye.